Morning, guys and girls. Today we're going to do a bunch of stuff, probably a bunch of little stuff. Throw the inner primary on. We're waiting on a stator and a voltage regulator. We might assemble our bags, cut the lids, put our Rockford fosgate speakers in, straighten out our tour pack, bunch of little things like that. Yesterday you've seen us do the Baker 6-speed overdrive transmission, which was really a nice kit to do. Yeah, all right, let's get started. First thing is we're gonna reinstall our transmission drive sprocket. We wanna have a really good look at the teeth. Make sure that they're still nice and round and they're not worn out, because that'll chew up your drive belt real quick. Now we're gonna put our sprocket nut on with some red Loctite every time. This nut is a left-hand thread, so lefty tighty, righty loosey. You're gonna need this special tool to hold your drive sprocket from turning when you torque it up. Initial torque on this nut is gonna be 60 foot-pounds. Then you're gonna take a marker and you're gonna make a line on here on your nut and your sprocket. And you're gonna tighten that nut another 35 to 40 degrees, which is half of a quarter. See the lines we've made on here? We're gonna turn that line till it hits about here, which is half of a quarter turn. You see now that line's right here, and we started here, so we probably went about 45 degrees. Now we're gonna put our retaining plate on. Gonna keep in mind the nut turns lefty-tighty, so when you put your plate on, you want to make sure you put it on in such a way that if that nut ever turned, that the shoulder of this plate is up against the bolt right away. You see, if we turn it righty-loosey now, it's going to hit that bolt. These bolts are going to have a little red Loctite, and you're going to tighten them to about 110, 120 inch-pounds. We're going to replace this main bearing in here. This is your final drive. So, factory, you have a roller bearing with a seal and a spacer. You see how that spacer's cut? That's because sometimes these spacers walk in towards the transmission. So what we're going to put on here is a sealed roller bearing with a seal. Thus we're eliminating that race that can't walk back in again. Again, before we slide our primary on with the new seals, we're going to cover up these splines with some masking tape so we don't wreck our new seal. Now, we've got a new starter seal in here as well, a new drive bearing, and a seal, new O-ring on the motor here. Slide this all together nice and carefully. You might have to squeeze your belt together to get this on there. We're going to install our primary chain case bolts to the transmission. Ones are going to be the longer ones. The ones through your inner half to the motor are going to be the shorter ones. Put a little Loctite in them and just start a couple threads so that nothing gets cross-threaded. Then you're going to run your bolts in until there's about a 1/4 inch gap between your washer and your inner primary cover. Then what you're going to do, you're going to take a little bit of silicone and squeeze it underneath your washer into the hole. Do not ever put the silicone in the hole and then run the bolt in. You're going to ask me why. I've seen many times, well, not many times, but I've seen a few times guys that put so much silicone in the hole and then they run the bolt in, and they've actually broken the transmission case, a hole right through it, and then developed leaks and wonder where the oil was coming from. So always run your bolt in most of the way and then a little silicone under the washer. Go ahead and run your bolts in all the way. And you're going to torque them to 21 foot-pounds, starting from the inside, working your way out on the tranny, and then the two inner ones on your motor, working your way forward. We're going to go over here, tighten up your two starter bolts, And your top rear starter bolt will have a ground cable on it. All right. Next step, I guess, to keep this project going is we're going to cut holes in these fancy lids we've just had all completely restored. Got the paint on the bags restored. We're going to cut the holes in these lids and install our Rockford fosgate 6x9 speakers and get our bags assembled. This is the kit we're going to be using from Rockford. TMS 69BL 9813. So this is the TMS 6x9 bag lids 1998 to 2013 kit. We're going to be installing that kit. It comes with your jigs that you screw down and then cut. Mounting brackets for your speakers and your grills. Wiring harness. And these beautiful 6x9s. First thing I like to do is take some masking tape and cover up the entire area of the bag that will be, the bag lid that will be cut. Once you have your lids taped off, you want to take your jigs and screw them to your lids. You're going to want to take a drill bit and drill each one of these holes out. What you do now is making room for your jigsaw blade to go around. And you're going to take your jigsaw and follow your template from hole to hole. Then, that's your hole basically. You've got your tape peeled off. You want to set your grill on top, test fit your holes and see how they fit. If they look good, you're going to flip it over, put the back side of your jig in there. We're going to screw it down. Then you're going to take your 6x9 speaker with your electrodes facing the rear of the lid, protector cover, screw them down with the 4 screws with the bigger heads. And there you have it, folks. You have your 6x9 installed in your saddlebags lid. While you guys are hanging out, I'm going to quickly go ahead and get this second lid set up for you guys. I'm going to go ahead and assemble these bags, the hinges, clips on the back, tethers that hold the lids, and drill a hole for the wire. There you guys go. Just a little sneak peek on what this bike's going to look like. And man, that green, I think they call that a dragonfly green. That sure looks nice. I'm sure the video doesn't do it any justice. And this black, you see, is actually really, really dark chocolate brown with a blue metallic in it. All right, on this bike here, we're also going to change the rear brake switch, which is an 11/16 wrench. Just carefully. You're going to have to get another wrench, I guess. You're going to need a 5/8 wrench to hold the actual brake line. The 11/16 wrench. Just spin the old brake light switch out. And when you put your new brake light switch in, you want to make sure you put a little liquid thread sealant on the threads before you run it back in there. Now we're going to bleed these brakes with our Mighty Vac. We're going to suck brake fluid right through from the master all the way to the slave cylinder. Your lid on your master will say what number it is. If you've got a custom aftermarket master, sometimes it says on the inside of the lid, but always refer to your manufacturer's specs and don't mix them. Get your brakes bled, you get good pressure, make sure you rinse off any brake fluid. Brake fluid will eat your paint off real quick. Doesn't take long to soften. Folks, thanks for watching again today. Really appreciate it. Yeah, make sure you hit subscribe and like my channel, share it with your friends. Today we got our bags assembled and a couple other minor little things. Tomorrow we might as well put the air cleaner back on and we'll put our 2-to-1 exhaust system back on, I think, and see what other parts show up. Anyways, have a good night and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks.